How's it going, guys? This is Romanarcher Gaming, and I'm here to talk about some new and different stuff. This is going to be a new segment of my channel. It's going to be called Romanarcher Talks About Stuff. So, I guess what I'm going to be talking about today is anxiety. And so, I guess we'll start from the beginning. I've had anxiety for quite a while, and there was points in times I wasn't even aware that what I was experiencing was anxiety. But believe it or not, anxiety is a real thing. It can consume a lot of people's lives. But I will tell you, it is something that is manageable, and hopefully after you watch these next couple videos, I can help you. It'll give you an idea that it can be dealt with if you give enough effort to make it happen. So I guess in my first video, I'm probably going to go over some of my experiences. In my second video, I'm going to go over methods and ways I've gotten over it, and I kind of used to make my life a little bit easier. I don't know if they're going to work the same for you, but it's just kind of my idea of how I've gotten over it and how I've kind of worked my life back to getting a little more normal. So I guess we'll start from the beginning. My first experience that I can remember was back in like 4th or 5th grade in elementary school. And I guess we were in the cafeteria, we were having lunch and everything else. Everything was joyful, everything was great. And I was eating my lunch. The next thing you know, a black void just pulls in front of my eyes and I'm out. I ended up passing out and falling out of my seat. Now, at this point in time, I was coming to and I was looking around me, and nobody seemed even slightly bothered. Nobody seemed to acknowledge. Nobody seemed to even wonder what's going on. Now, this kind of confused me, and I kind of got a little bit upset over it, but it was like, why? Why doesn't anybody care? But later on, as I looked over, and like maybe 2 or 3 seconds after I finally came to, the principal came through the cafeteria and was walking towards me. She ended up not carrying me, but helping me to the nurse's office. And the nurse came to the conclusion that it was because of low blood sugar, which kind of confused me because, I was eating lunch, I did what I needed to, and everything else. I had a pretty good lunch that day. And I guess later on, it kind of just sits in my mind, I wonder if that was really the case, or if that was really the true starting point of my anxiety. Because it is entirely impossible for that to happen. I was very stressed during elementary school. I wasn't exactly the most popular kid in my school. I wasn't doing so great because I wasn't concentrating on the things I needed to be. I was very easily distracted. I was doing what I wanted. When I was in class, I didn't really care about my academics at all. And I kind of just did what I wanted to, whenever I wanted to, and just wanted to have fun. Later on, I think this is probably my second time, but I will say that I'm probably going to only bring up like 3 examples, really. But my second experience was kind of another public spectacle for everybody to see. It was so grand. But the second one happened in Walmart. So what happened was, we were checking out. We were finally getting out of there. We've been in there for like a couple hours because that was the point in time. My mom liked shopping a lot, but we got over that. This was probably when I was in about 7th grade. It sounds about right. And as we were getting ready to leave and everything, we were in the process of paying for things and stuff. My head started getting dizzy and stuff like that. And it kind of confused me why I was having it that day, because I was actually having a pretty good day. It didn't really make sense later on, now thinking back to it. But later on, I ended up going to the water fountain because I felt a little bit thirsty, kind of felt a little bit sick, a little dizzy, and I felt, well, maybe I'll just drink some water. It'll make me feel a little bit better. And plus, we'll be getting out in a couple seconds, so no biggie. So as I got a drink of water, I kind of slowly started walking back, and as I slowly started walking back, my vision slowly started to deteriorate, and I could see more darkness slowly creeping up in my vision. And at that point in time, I freaked out, and I was trying to reach for my mom. Now, as I was reaching out for her, I don't think I might have just finally was able to touch her shoulder, and all I remember is collapsing into total blackness, or darkness. Darkness is probably a better word. But it just completely caught me off guard. Now, this is where things kind of got a tad bit annoying and kind of shocking, I guess. When I was finally coming to, I wasn't exactly where I collapsed. It looks like they had moved me. and I was in the middle of the aisle. Now, I hit pretty hard, but I guess that wasn't really that big of a deal. I don't really know. But I ended up waking up to some lady slapping me in the face with a wet rag. Now, this kind of confused the living shit out of me, why she was slapping me in the face with a wet rag. It was just kind of strange, and I kept thinking to myself, can you please stop slapping me in the face with that rag? Now, after that point, we ended up going with the EMTs and going to a hospital so they could check my head and make sure I didn't fracture it or get any damage to my head, and it came back fine. So we were kind of like confused what had set it off, and the doctor that I was with at the time said that I probably should just do some Keppra. I probably just have some mild epilepsy, and I think that was probably maybe my second or third, and they were pretty much had me on a prescription at that point. And I guess I don't really know entirely that entire situation, if that was what I thought it was, or it just kind of confused me. But my last story I have for you guys is probably one of my worst and one of my most graphic panic attacks, to explain to the least. But I guess we were, for obvious reasons, I'm not going to explain exactly where I was going because I don't want people knowing all my business. But we were going state to state, and when we finally reached the targeted state we were going towards, we got to a gas station, filled up and everything. And when I was sitting there, I kind of started getting sick to my stomach. I'm not sure why, but I ended up opening up my door, and as soon as I did, I ended up hurling outside of the door. Now, when I say hurling, I was vomiting, like chunks. Yeah, that's a good image for you guys. Let that seep in for a couple seconds. And the next thing I know is people are staring, and I'm thinking to myself, oh my god, people either think I have been drinking, I am extremely sick, or I ate something I shouldn't have been eating. To which I quickly flipped back into my seat as fast as I could so people wouldn't stare and make me feel even worse about my situation. I mean, vomiting as it was pretty freaking embarrassing for me at the time. But I ended up, as soon as I did that, I was trying to relax myself and everything else, but as soon as I did that, I ended up having to vomit again. So I had to flip the door open again and vomit again. This time, it was worse than the first time. I think it was because I flipped back and my stomach probably just moved around and was like, oh no, we're not finished yet. And it was kind of like a bitch slap for my throat. And this isn't even the end of the story, though. Don't get me wrong. But I ended up like 40 minutes later, having a seizure and vomiting at the same time. It's probably one of the worst things you will ever experience, because after you awake, you're choking on vomit, and you're trying to get it out, and you can't get it out, so you're freaking out. So luckily, I was able to get the vomit out of my throat and everything, and I was okay for a couple seconds at least. And in the next 20-30 minutes, in pretty much intervals, I had 3 more seizures. At this point in time, we realized we probably should go check the neurologist and see if he can see what's going on. Because previously, I had a machine strapped to my head, and it was supposed to mark my brain waves and see what's going on with my head. When they did that test, nothing came back, and they ended up having to say, well, there's nothing conclusive, we'll have to try again some other time. So this was the perfect time, since I had vomited about 4 times at this point and had about 4 seizures and was really just done with like all that shit and just wanted to go home. Sadly, that wouldn't be the case, and this would be the point in time where the neurologist was telling us, well, come in and we'll see if we can resolve it. Luckily, we were about 30 minutes from him, so we got to him pretty fast, and he he hooked wires back up to my head and everything and was checking all my brain waves and stuff, seeing if he could find any evidence of a seizure. He came back and said that there wasn't. Well, this kind of perplexed me because I was like, well, how's that possible? I had 4 seizures, I vomited my guts out, and let me tell you, vomiting and having seizures is probably one of the most exhausting things you will ever experience, because every muscle in my body ached and hurt. it hurt to walk. It hurt to move.